Hello, and welcome. Today, I'm going to show you my massive deathguard collection. I'm also going to give my opinions and thoughts on where the army and the units stand, so buckle up, this is going to be a long one. I'm also going to timestamp battlefield rules in the comment section, in case you only want to see a particular unit.
Girl, you got me shook from the way your body looks. Got me riding hooks, got me feeling like a rook. I don't do it by the book, but for you I'll take a look. Don't know what your mama took, sweet and spicy like a cook, yeah. I'll keep it real, let's make a deal. Buy you a meal if you just let me feel. Get out your heels, grab on the wheel. Back to my place at the top of the hill. Don't have regrets, I know what's next. She need a fresh, I'll be back in a sec. Look at them legs, don't make me beg. Back to the room, let me show you my bed.
Let's talk infantry. This is the first squad I've ever painted. I painted them up for Kill Team, and I watched a tutorial that literally just said you cannot overdo the non-oil. I definitely put that theory to the test. These are some of the newer models that I have done. You can definitely tell I have improved a little bit over the past couple years. I have over 40 poxwalkers painted and ready to play, so instead of having constant repeating models, these are some Geller Pox infected models. They are the same size, and I've actually brought these to tournaments without any issues. They look amazing, and I definitely would recommend picking some up if you're having a constant repeating issue. So what I've done with the other models I have that repeat is I've changed the primary color on all their different squads. So I have a full squad of orange, I have a full squad of purple, and I have a full squad of blue. This also helps keep the units identified when they're on the table, which can be quite a bit of a hassle if you're running a horde army. So, let's talk Poxwalker tactics. Poxwalkers are a very cheap OPSEC unit that's very durable for their point cost. You can also bring Typhus for his aura buff and his casting, which you can cast +1 toughness and strength to them, and miasma, and they get pretty nasty pretty quickly. And if you really wanted to go all in on this, you could bring 2 max squads, fully buff the front, use the stratagem Cloud of Flies in the back squad, and they can't touch that back squad until they fully remove that front squad. That can get very annoying very quickly for your opponent. I have had success with this style of list, but it does get boring for me. It's not really an aggressive list, it's just more of a stand around and hold the board list. So now what I generally do is I only run minimum squads, keep them on a back objectives, and let them raise the flags. With the new nerfed coherency and the buff the blast weapons, they have kind of lost their appeal to me. Now, let's talk about the bread and butter, the Plague Marines. These models are amazing, I've put a lot of work into them, and I use them all the time. And with Gamesworkshop officially announcing 2 Wound Plague Marines, you're going to be seeing them on the table all the time. The Psychic Awakening Plague Marines have become very interesting. For example, you make them in Mortarian's Chosen Sons, with the Plague Surgeon strat for the reroll 1s and 2s of Disgusting Resilience within 3 inches of him. Combine that with the 5+ envelope from the Natchez Blightbringer, and on top of that, 2 Wound Plague Marines makes them impossible to shift. And another example is you can bring them into large melee blobs, using Cloud of Flies to protect them during the march up the board. Then using Trench Fighters once they get there for the additional attack with the Plague Knives is very strong. And of course, with the new strat that gives their bolt weapons the Plague Weapon rule for 1 command point is especially good. I personally been running them with 2 squads of 5, 2 with Blight Launchers and 1 with a Plasma Gun. Blight Launchers are very, very strong. I'll also on occasion bring melee squads of Plague Marines. If they make it to the opponent, they do hit like a truck. It just always crushes my soul a little bit when I see them get shot off the board. They do look good either way, so that's fine. I do have all the other weapon options built up for the Plague Marines, but they're just not very viable. There's much better ways to bring Meltas, and the Spewer and the Belcher have been very lackluster every time I've tried them. I've given them multiple chances, and it's just, they've never performed like I hoped they would. So where do I think Plague Marines stand in 9th? They're in a very good spot. In an edition where OPSEC and board control is key, the Plague Marines are definitely top dog. these are going to be very valuable units in 9th edition. Elites. Let's start off with Hellbrutes. They're not worth it. Not for the elite spot. We have many better options for the elite spot. This one has the melt on the fist, and their whole shtick in 8th was the move and fire with no penalty, and now in 9th everything can do that. So they have definitely lost all their appeal to me. They can fire, they can get their frenzy where they fire off on 6s when they take wounds, but it's not worth it. My other Hellbrute has the missile pod and a las cannon for the same reason, the firing and moving in 8th edition. Now in 9th everything does that. There's much better platforms to stick these weapons on. The models themselves do look amazing, but they're just bench warmers now. It's gonna be a pass for me. Now let's move on to some characters. First off, the Tallyman. The model itself is amazing. He does give an aura of 7 inches to reroll in the fight phase, which is pretty cool. And if you use deathguard stratagems, you roll 2 dice on a 7, you get the command points back. And in the Psychic Awakening, Matarian's Anvil, he has a relic that gives him exploding 6s in melee combat for a deathguard within 7 inches. Also a pretty cool little buff. And next up, we got the Plague Surgeon. Another cool model, 1 command point at the beginning of the game, and you can reroll 1s and 2s for plague weapons within 6 inches. And then if you bring him in Mortarian's Chosen Sons, you can pay a command point, and you can reroll Disgusting Resilience for 1s and 2s for Deathguard infantry units within 3 inches of him. That's a pretty solid little buff. Next up, we got the Noxious Blightbringer. This guy has a lot of buzz around him right now. You give him the Daemon's Toll, which is a relic, and it gives Deathguard units, except for Poxwalkers and Cultists, within 7 inches of him a 5+ invulnerable save. That is pretty good. That's really juicy. I haven't got to try it out yet, but I'm really interested in trying this one. Model wise, he's pretty cool. This is one of the first characters I've really hinted up. It was him and the Lord of Contagion first, and his little Nurgling broke off. That made me sad. And now, the Biologist Putrefier. He's the one with the Blight Rack aura that gives the Blight Grenades +1 strength and damage, and then 6s to wound, do mortal wounds on top of damage. It's a good strategy, but most people will generally kill off the Plague Marines before you can actually use it or make it effective. Still an awesome model though, like every other Deathguard model. And now it's time for the MVPs, the Foul Blight Spawn. These are going to be a must include in every Deathguard army, simply for the Revolting Stench buff. It's a 7-inch aura of if you charge anyone within 7 inches of him, they don't count as charging. And with 9th edition, that means you attack first. And that is an incredible aura. He is an auto-include just for that alone. Not to mention his Plague Sprayer, which is a D6 auto-hitting shot with strength 2d6, -3 AP, and flat 3 damage. Is absolutely insane. So these are my Foul Blight spawns. I have 2, and since I don't like having repeating models, I converted this one up. He's got a Plague Spear from a Terminator set on his right hand, and I attached the old Foul Blight Spawn Plague Sprayer to it just to give it that drip effect. And I melted the old hose and curved it around to connect it, and I head swapped him and I gave him a different left arm. And I tried to attach it to the crank. It looks a little funky, but I think it gets the job done. And that's him. Death Shroud Terminators. They're okay. They hit like a truck. They're pretty expensive. They're very meh for me. The models are absolutely amazing, of course, but I don't really bring them anymore. I've tried running them as Mortarian's, bodyguard, but they've just never done much for me. Blight Lord Terminators. Now these guys are awesome. Don't bring the Reaper autocannon. I'm just showing him off because he's more of a recent model, and I think he looks really cool. But these guys are absolutely amazing. I haven't really ever brought them and been disappointed. There's been a few times where they didn't make their charge, and then the opponent just ran away from them. And they are very slow, so if they don't make that charge, it's a problem. But even then, I mean, they hit like a truck. They can shoot. The flails with their carry-over damage is absolutely insane. The flares have always been the MVPs for me. People always ask, how do you run them? I run all mine with bolter axes and flails. I usually run 2 5-man squads with all bolter axes and 1 flail, or a 10-man squad of 2 flails and the rest bolter axes. The plasmas and meltas are generally overcosted, so I try to keep them cheap, but definitely recommend these boys. They're very, very good. Fast attack. Not really much to talk about here. The Mythic Blight Haulers. Very good now. With 100 points a model, you get a Melta, a Missile Launcher, Biospurt, the Gnashing Maw, and cover saves to deathguard infantry around them. If you bring 3 of them, it's 300 points for all that times 3, and they hit on 3s. So they can move, shoot, hit on 3s, hit them with the Melta, hit them with the Missile, hit him with that Assault D3 Battle Spurt. I mean, they're very good. I have run them in the 3-man squads and been quite happy with them. I've also run them by themselves, and they still pump out a good amount of damage. So yeah, that's them. These are my 3. I got kind of bored with 2 of them the same, so I painted one up in a different scheme, and I generally call him the commander of the 3. He's eating some tao because, who doesn't like some sushi? So, on to the drones. I personally haven't used him yet because I don't like using models I haven't finished painting. That's just my personal thing. I don't know why I can't do that. But in theory, he's really good. But on to the guys I have used. The Plague Spitters are absolutely amazing. You advance them, they auto hit, and then after, say they charge you, you can pay for the Overwatch if you want because it is auto hitting, but you still have that -2 strength 6 D3 damage plague weapon just stock. I mean, there's no reason not to bring bloat drones. They're a bit expensive, but they fly. They have auto hitting flamers that are really good. They are infantry eaters. Like, these guys destroy infantry. And not to mention, they can now shoot their flamers into melee combat. Like, it doesn't get better than that. Onto the part that most of us are super excited about, the heavy support. Let's start off with the Deradios. The models aren't the best models. They are Forge World. You do have to deal with Forge World type stuff, but stat wise they are very, very good. They have 14 wounds, and you can pay the command point to give them disgusting resilience. They're strength 7, toughness 7. They come with the butcher cannons, so that's really good. They hit on 2s. They have the no line of sight greater havoc launchers on them. They can move and fire with no penalty, which they could do in 8th too, which is why they were really good in 8th. But now in 9th, that's just how it is. They have heavy bolters as well, which is pretty cool because they're getting a buff coming up pretty soon. In 8th, these were my MVPs. I took these to tournaments and people would just hate me as soon as they saw them. So I definitely wouldn't recommend bringing them to friendly games because they aren't the nicest against friendly games. Also, they are magnetized. They have a plasma gun too that you can bring, which I just haven't painted up yet. But those are mine. Let's go on to the Chaos Land Raider. I really want to try him out. I really want this to be good. I haven't done him in 9th yet, but the theory is you give him disgusting resilience and he is just a nightmare to remove. I mean, he's toughness 8, he's got 16 wounds, he's got blast cannons, he hits on 2s, he doesn't suffer penalties for movings, and he can transport Terminators. And he looks awesome. I mean, this was an eBay rescue, so I mean, it was a bit rough fixing it up. It had all the Imperium logos, all the Chaos logos. The gunner was absolutely wrecked. It's missing spikes because they broke off over the years I've had it. So, you know, being an eBay rescue, it turned out okay. But he is an awesome model. He looks like a beast. He demands your attention, and if you ignore him, he's gonna wreak havoc. He pumps out a lot of shots. But he also was very expensive, so you gotta weigh it here. But I definitely want to try him out. I just haven't had the opportunity to yet with, you know, this whole COVID going on. But he's here. I'm ready to bring him out. Next, the Defiler. This is another model that's a lot of hype. You can give him disgusting resilience now, which is really good because that T7, 14 wounds, that's a bit annoying. And now with the whole moving and shooting no penalty, it makes him way more interesting. And now he can shoot into combat. The only problem I have is I don't have the right loadout. This was another eBay rescue that I just don't have any kits for. Because I really want to get the Defiler Scourge, which will make him strength 12, -2, 3 flat damage. And it gives him a lot more attacks as well. So that makes him way better. I just don't have the right loadout. But as he's loaded out, he's got the flamers, so he can shoot into combat, still attack with the claws, still shoot with this heavy bolter, and that battle cannon, which is blast, but still very good. I mean, this is a beast of a model, and in theory can be very, very good. I just wish they would also update the kit. The kit's a bit old. I mean, I think this has been around for 20-something years. It still looks kind of cool, but I think just if they modernize it a little bit, it would look much, much better. Plagueburst Crawlers, the best unit in the Codex, by far. You got toughness 8, 12 wounds, just so good. And of course, now you can bring him with Poxmongers, give him the Warlord the Relic, give him a 4+ Envol, 5+ Disgusting Resilience. Oh, that's good. I run mine with Plague Spitters. I think that's the only way to run them. I've tried Entropy Cannons, not my thing. They have that new strat that can make them better, can make your Entropy Cannons plague weapons, but for me, I don't think these are a unit that should sit in the backfield and lob shots. I think they're going to want to be in the face harassing your opponents because they are a pain in the ass to deal with. There's not really much more to say about them. This is my newest one, you can tell by the paint job. The other two are about a year old, and then I just got this one recently. Flyer. I only have one. It's a Forge World option. The model to put together was horrendous. I had nothing but issues putting this thing together. The rust, you might think, oh hey, that looks pretty good. It was not intentional. I had so much problem getting the wings to stay on it that at the end of the day it looked horrible, so I just ended up rusting it out, which looks okay now. He's okay. He's a flyer, got last cannons, expensive. Not really much more to say about that. He was a birthday gift from a friend, and that's why I got him. I did my best to make it look like a deathguard flyer because it's a very bland Imperial looking flyer. So I put some Nurglings in the driver's seat, try to make it look like they're causing havoc in there. Put one off the back because I thought it was funny. And I put one below him directing the airflow of traffic. There's not much more to say about that. I definitely don't recommend it. It's a cool model to add to the collection, and that's the only good thing I can say about it. Transports. Yes. With board control being key and holding objectives being very important, transports are very, very good in 9th. And with deathguard, you can pay the command point and give it disgusting resilience, which I'm sure you've heard me say a million times during this. It's so good. That makes your rhinos way more survivable. That's always been the issue, is they just get blown off the board. But with disgusting resilience, they've become way more interesting. So these are my rhinos. One of them, or actually they both are eBay rescues, but one wasn't that bad. This one right here was a huge rescue. It had no doors on the side, it had no front plate, no back plate, no middle top hatch plate. I'm not sure what that piece is called. The gunner was just a torso. So yeah, he was rough. It did have a havoc launcher. It did have that on there. It's the only thing that was on there. So he came out pretty good for being an eBay rescue. My thoughts on rhinos? Yes, they're going to be needed. They're going to help your Plague Marines get across the board. You're going to throw disgusting resilience on it. It's going to be more annoying. It's going to help your board control. It's going to help you win the game with objectives. Talk about them. The Daemon Prince. Always a staple. Very good, very costly, but very good. You get the toughness 7, 8 wounds, 3+ save, good and invulnerable save, and disgusting resilience. He's a brute, he hits like a truck, he's hard to take down. He can fly if you give him wings, of course, but always give him wings. There's no reason not to give him wings. Very good. Definitely recommend him. This is a unit that I get asked about constantly. This is my other Daemon Prince. He's a bunch of Nurglings stuck to a base, partying, having a great time. The middle Nurgling has been extended by Nurgle. He's been blessed as a Daemon Prince. He grew some Tyranid wings out of his back. And his friend's holding him up because he's just too damn small. I play him as Devil Malefic Talons because the wings do have talons on them. And people try to tell me I'm modeling for advantage, but he actually is way bigger than an average sized Daemon Prince. I did name him. His name is Gore Splatter Shatterfist, which I think is hilarious because little Nurglings with a badass name. And that's him. The Lord of Contagion. Such a cool model. Very disappointing. Very fun and friendly games. I want to love him, but I can't. You can pay command point to turn him into a Chaos Lord, which I think is ridiculous. I think he should already have reroll 1s to hit. So this is a Lord of Contagion that I'm working on right now. Try to convert him up a little bit, switched out his weapon because I don't like having the same model repeated, as I've said many times. So I thought I'd show you him. He's a work in progress. I do love these models. I wish they were better. When you do play them and they do make it into combat, they hit like absolute trucks, but at the same time they don't have any range. They can get popped off pretty easily unless you're willing to waste Warlord traits and relics on them, which I just don't think is worth it. So, Typhus. This is the out of production Typhus. He's metal, he's very heavy, he's a bit clunky, he is very tiny. He's about the size of a Plague Marine. I don't bring Typhus unless I'm bringing a lot of Poxwalkers. He's very expensive. I mean, he doesn't give rerolls. He does hit like a truck like every other character. His only shtick basically is buffing poxwalkers. You can deep strike him. He's got that little pistol that's 2d6 for -3 AP and 1 damage, but it only hits on 5s because typhus. I do have a nice typhus model I'm working on painting up, as you can see right here, but he's just not done, so I don't really have him out. This model is amazing. I love the new typhus model. I'm very excited to get him done so I can just shelf my old one. But yeah, typhus overall, don't recommend him unless you're playing a lot of poxwalkers. Cool for the collection, not too good in game. Malignant Plague Casters. Horrible models. I think these are the ugliest models that Deathguard have. And even then they look okay. I don't like the models, but they aren't as bad as some of the other factions. If this is the worst we have, I'm okay with that. It's a Psyker. Not much more you can say about that. It's got disgusting resilience. It's got a cool little buff that never goes off. If you pass a psychic test within 7 inches, you can do mortal wounds to the enemy. This is another one I'm working on converting. It's not done yet, so it's not out here. That's it. It's a cheap HQ that can cast for that reason alone. There's not much more to really say than that. This is a sorcerer. It's a model I converted up. It's an old Chaos Lord with a Grey Knight staff and a Plague Knife. I'm sure I can justify running it as a Plague Caster as well if I wanted to. But that's it. It looks like poo. It's in one of my first conversions ever. And it does the job. It's a cheap HQ that can cast. This is my Chaos Lord. I found this old metal torso in my bits box a while back. I threw some lightning claws on it, gave it a backpack with wings, and that's it. It's definitely unique. I've never seen another one like this. He normally just sits in the back and babysits my Deradios. I like bringing him because he's unique.
Yeah, here let me break it down. Yeah, I'm gonna make it now. Give me some time and you'll see me up on stage somehow. I'm working every day. I'm working hella late.
Last but definitely not least, Mortarion. I really want to bring him. I love this model so much. Him and Magnus are my favorite 40k models, period. You can deep strike him now, which is interesting, but I don't think it'll justify bringing him just yet. We'll have to wait and see, because I'm sure some of the top dogs will try something with him. I brought him to tournaments, and I've done okay with him, but generally he's off the board. And that's it. I mean, it's a bummer. He's going to cost you a quarter of your army just to get shot off the board. You can deep strike him, but if he's got such a large base with the new reserves rules, he's going to be very easy to zone out. He looks amazing. Easily one of the funnest models I've ever painted. He's old, so I'll have to go through and retouch him up eventually, because I've learned a lot since I've painted him. I will say, if he does make it to the back lines, he will kill anything. He is a beat stick. He is really, really good if he can make it there. Your opponent generally won't let him make it there though. I would bring him in friendly games if your opponent is okay with it, but also keep in mind he's one of those models, if your opponent doesn't kill him, you're gonna win, and if your opponent does kill him, chances are you're gonna lose. But damn, he is so cool. I definitely recommend one just for your collection alone. So, that's it. If you've made it this far, I want to say thank you. Feedback is always appreciated, whether it's positive or negative. I did work really hard on this video. It might not look like it, but it was a lot of work doing all this. So let me know what you guys think. Yeah, that's it.
It's what I'm capable of. You can leave if that's not enough. I believe in never giving up. I don't need someone to help me. Yeah, I work hard.